National broadcaster, not many faces appear here, but when I'm given this opportunity, I don't take it for granted. Thank you for having me.
We last met when we were discussing that then Lokodo Lokodo bill. By the way, before even go any further,
it wasn't a bill. That's what people mistake it to be. It was a policy. There is a difference between a policy and a bill. Definitely, a bill is an outcome of a policy. You cannot draft a bill, neither cabinet nor individual parliamentarian can bring a bill where there is no policy. So the foundation of the bill, of the law to be made, there has to be a policy to guide, to give ways on how things will run, and then a bill will be tabled in parliament. So it was a policy that originated from the Department of Ethics and Integrity, the Ministry of President's Office. Unfortunately, it was shelved because of the pressure, the political pressure.
Actually, you were for that bill. Did you win?
Exactly.
So you're the ones that felt they lost?
No. I don't think that we lost the pro. Because the truth is, up to now, we are still demanding for it. Simply because of the chaos, the problems, the things we are experiencing in church and in the religious circles around the country. There are many challenges that the church, the mosques, the Anglican church, the Catholic church, the Seventh Adventist, everything. In this policy, we were looking, the consultant who happened to die of COVID recently, he made a statement and said, when this policy goes through, it is going to change many laws in this country, because it was encompassing and touching many things. Anything related to religious was going to turn around and be streamlined for everybody to know where they are supposed to touch and what to touch and how to work. It was all about government and religious institutions. How do we harmonize our relationship? How do we do things together? Because, for your information, there is nothing in place as a policy that helps government to work with the religious leaders. It's the reason why you always, President Museveni says, you have your own task and leave us alone.
Well, that we can spare for yet another day. For now, we are going to be discussing this festive season. Usually it is a tradition, a culture that people have prayers.
Yes.
To usher in the new year. Well, due to COVID, for the last 2 years, we've not had these prayers. One, there's curfew. Second, because of COVID-19, issues of social distancing, numbers were regulated. At first, churches were closed after that is after the second wave. And now looking at 2021, leave alone 2020.
Okay.
2020, let's just focus at 2021.
Okay.
You were once opened, then again closed, numbers to 70, now 200, and here we are at that day where most people desire, that is on the 31st, at least that as the hour midnight clocks and they usher the new year, then the presence of the Lord, worshiping, dedicated the year, this is not going to happen. How has 2021 affected the church regarding COVID-19 restrictions?
Good question. How has 2021 affected the church? I wouldn't say that the year has had a problem. It is the situation of COVID that brought in all this chaos. And for your information, I'm one of those few that supported the president to close the second lockdown, to do the lockdown, simply because things were running out of hand. People were dying. We had no solution. By then there was no vaccine. The treatment was just rumors, and everybody was doing whatever they could do to survive. And the best way to control the spread was to lock down. which was good. It was timely. And in fact, by the time they locked down, I had received the virus. And it was because of a meeting where my wife went, and in that meeting, she was given a microphone, you know, to pray, and that was the beginning. She came back 1 week later, she went down, and you know, that was that was in May, and by June, I was also down. Thank God she was down for only 2 weeks, but for me it took me almost a month. But that's the reason, that's the period when the president locked down. And during that lockdown, we saw things that we have never seen before. Ambulances, siren everywhere. That was a test of a generation, I would say. And up to today, we still have that picture in mind. So that brought a lot of a different perception. People's perception towards COVID and coronavirus was negative. People thought it was a political thing. In fact, they thought it was a political 2021 campaign strategy of a government winning the election. But the June phenomenon changed people's perception. And now
because almost every family had either known or lost or had a patient of COVID-19.
Exactly.
Majority of families by then.
Majority of families. When I was down, I lost 3 close family members. And one of them was buried at our
ancestral grounds?
Exactly. At my house, where in the village, in Mazi, where I'm responsible, I could not bury. Not because I could not move, because I had a permit or
a pass.
A pass. I could move all over the country, but I could not move. I was down. I was sick. So such experience, and and even my brother-in-law died. Was so close. This is the family where I grew up from. He died, and I could not go there because I was down. So people experienced it. People know what it means. So by now, today, when we talk about COVID, people understand exactly what can happen in this country. And I would say 2021 has been an eye-opener regarding behavior, regarding people's morals, because this has shaped people, and it has displayed how decayed our societies are, because we have seen girls being impregnated by their fathers, their relatives, close relatives, which is very, 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 very dangerous. And for your information, when we look at that, I would say it is high time we work on the things that we have seen that are not right.
Bishop, we are seeing the churches, of course, now you have numbers of 200.
Yes.
One would say, much as churches speak to the souls of people, they still carry out a lot of other developmental activities that require money. And sometimes, you know, numbers, presence reflects on how much you can get. When people come, they give offertory, they commit themselves to this and this. But where is the church in all this? What has been your role in the fight against COVID-19?
As a church, first of all, vaccination had stagnated. But we appealed to government to let us get involved. And before they opened up the churches to function again, that was our humble appeal to government and the president, telling him that you cannot win the battle alone, however, you know, good you are, because you need, the vaccination became a spiritual, cultural thing because of the theories that came with it. And for us as people as leaders who see far and beyond, the situations, we told the president, let us come in. Let us come in and help you. And that's when the churches were opened. And when they were opened, we have come up to tell the people, go for vaccinations. And from that moment, things changed. Social media changed. And right now, people, at least I would say 80% are positive. Though the response is not that as expected, but at least people's perception, people's attitude, people's view towards vaccination has changed. That is the role of the church and the church, the religious leaders in general. 2, churches did a lot when it came to distribution of food. We saw churches coming out, helping people in their communities, which is very, very, very important. I want to thank those that did it, because we shouldn't wait for government. It should be us with government, because we serve the same people. And for your information, government does not know the problems of the people. I'm sorry to say so. They don't live with them. It is us that live with these people. When somebody goes hungry, they will call you, Pastor Ndibubi. They will call you, my child has not done this and this. I can't go to the hospital because I don't even have transport. Take me to Chirundu. You know, they can't call the Minister of Health that, hey, I don't have transport to take me to Chirundu, send me an ambulance. So, I mean, we are the people on the ground. And so, churches and religious institutions did a lot during that time. So, when they opened up to the 200 people, it helped. It shaped the church. Churches have now multiple services, which wasn't there before. There are few churches that had multiple services.
Yes.
They only had one service that starts from 9 and ends at 3. You can even confuse 3 to 9 or 9 to 3, because it's very that long, yes. Very long, very packed. And because people have only one chance of having church. But right now, people can do distancing.
7 to 8,
yes.
Then you have 9 to midday.
You can have 5 services a day on Sunday. And that is a very, very, very important achievement in church. Secondly, we have taken church to another level. That now church is on Zoom. The Zoom guys have made money because almost every church has a Zoom channel where they do services in weekdays, which is a very big achievement for the church. Church has gone into the modern era. We are no longer analog as we used to be.
The traditional way of presence,
exactly.
Attending in presence.
The teleconferencing has become
part of the way church is doing things.
Yes. You can't have meetings only when you are seated together. You can have a teleconferencing of about 50 people on phone, and you are all hearing each other and discussing, and you are communicating, which is a very, very big achievement also. So I can see that COVID came with a lot of negatives, but also it has given us the chance to move forward in different things.
You talked about numbers having
yes.
been increased now to 200
yes.
per a service.
Yes.
Of course, like you said, many churches now have a number of services, but there have also been claims. I moved around during Christmas because I had to drop about 3 people that belong to different faiths. But also I found a problem that some churches seem to be having more than the numbers recommended. Have you noticed this?
Yes, I've seen it. As you introduced me, I'm the bishop of the region that is very challenging. That is Kampala. Kampala, first of all, we have a problem in Uganda that communication is not that good to our members. Many people, you send messages, they don't respond. But people are picking up. Pastors sometimes are a little bit hesitant in doing things, because we have that the spirit leads. But we have been encouraging them not to do things that are contrary to what has been put in place. Because as a result of that, other people might be affected by closing again. Because somebody can wake up and say, hey, you refused to do this, I'm closing. So
on Christmas, it was just confusion.
Yes, it was a lot of confusion, but many tried it. But it is my humble appeal that let us not do things contrary to what leaders are telling us. Mainly, they are not doing it for their own benefit. It is for our own benefit of society. Somebody that has not gone through the challenge of COVID, they don't know what it means. They need to ask the MPs that went to Arusha. I was listening to one of them was saying he went to a church and in Tanzania everybody was like, what is this one? Putting on a mask. For him was curious. He was cautious enough to retain his mask on and his friend. But everybody was not putting on their mask.
Just enjoying it.
And by the time they came back,
a number of them
a number of 50 of them were positive. So you need to know that you are not protecting government, but you are protecting the people you are serving. And the purpose of your service is giving them life and more eternal life. You cannot have eternal life when you are dead. You first have the eternal life today, and then when you die, you'll inherit it. You cannot preach to dead people. That's what I mean. We preach to live people, people who are alive, and the people you are ministering to, you are not encouraging to do what they are supposed to do. Some of them are not yet believers. They can die before they believe. So you lose them here, and you lose them when it comes to eternal life. So that is my request to my fellow servants of God. Let us be cautious enough to advise people accordingly.
We're still with Bishop Herbert Buyondo, that is the overseer Kampala in the Born Again Faith. And we'll be going for a short break. When we return, we'll still be discussing how they are preparing to ensure that they celebrate the New Year while abiding by the regulations that were put in place by the authorities. This time round, where we will not have those crossover nights, but also numbers as well, restriction. How do they abide by that? We'll return shortly after this commercial break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Introducing the all-new Roofing's TMX 500C rebars with cut and bend services. Roofing's, strength of a nation.
I'm growing up, I'm growing into every moment.
Thanks, Mom.
Nurture the moment with Minute Maid Delight, now available in apple flavor in the 400ml ready-to-drink pack.
Raising voices.
As a mother, my children depend on me to make this world a safer place for them. I'm not afraid to act when I see violence in the home and in my community. I promise to talk to my neighbors and friends about how we can nurture and protect the children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning, Uganda Extra on UBC TV. Thank you for being part of us as we are looking at now preparations for the festive season under the religious faith. So how are they prepared to usher you into the new year? Because that is one of the areas now we are critically going to be looking at. Away from the role of the church, we want to see at this particular time. Very interesting, Bishop. Business is not as usual.
Yeah, definitely.
We cannot have people usher in the new year. But let's look at things from your side.
Yes.
Government set what you're supposed to abide by. How are you preparing to fit into the given guidelines?
Very, very, very crucial at this moment. First of all, there are things that have been set aside for us to follow, regulations and guidelines. But also, we have a role as spiritual leaders, as the prophets, as people that can tell people what to expect, as people, as ushers of the people into the new year. Because, as you know, the president is set to speak on the 31st. It has been his business as we go into the new year. But it is also a role of the church to inspire the nation to look at the things that are going to happen in the new year and to get ready. Definitely, it doesn't need to start on the last day or in the first days of the year. We have already started it. But at the climax of the end of the year, there has to be something that shows that this is the climax, the D-Day, as you call it. And therefore, I'm requesting my fellow servants of God to abide by the regulations. One, the curfew, very, very, very important. It is not only, we are not going to do things at night this time. Apart from the few people that have TV stations that are going to use their television stations at midnight to do things, because you do it in front of the camera like I'm doing it now, and it is being watched all over. But the local churches that have no television stations to do that, you should not stop doing what you are supposed to do. It is your mandate. It is your commission. Let us have the services during the day. For example, you can start at midday and end at 6. 6 hours are good enough to give people direction, to pray for people, to inspire people for the new year. Instead of doing it at night, we have resorted now reversing it, doing it during day time. And we thank God for Uganda has now almost gazetted the 31st to be a public holiday. Most of the offices don't work on 31st.
Yes.
Because they know what is happening and what is going on. We used to have the first of the year as a gazetted day of a public holiday, which is still there. But now 31st is now a day that relaxed. Offices are now relaxed. People work from morning up to a certain time and go to prepare for their new year, whatever services. Now, I'm requesting people that are employers, that are having people in their offices and the organizations, let them go early so that they can have services during their time. So that at night, we don't move at night. The activities at night are not yet allowed. And I wouldn't expect anybody or any pastor calling me, Bishop, we are now having our service.
They have raided the church.
Yes, they have raided the church. They have taken our people. They have taken a certain pastor. Because pastors are, when they're taken by police, they expect the bishop to follow up. And you receive these calls and all that. I wouldn't expect that. And I wouldn't advise anybody to go do things beyond the guidelines that have been given to us. That is my advice. And I'm also requesting police not to take it for granted to extort money out of people because somebody is a little late, it is 8 o'clock, is moving from one place, going back home to their house, and you arrest them because you want to get something out of them, kitu kidogo. That is not working for the nation. Because we know the situations in Uganda. Our transport system is not that good. The infrastructure is not that good. Traffic jam can be a problem to anybody. And somebody is in a taxi. They cannot jump out and run. And even if they run, they can't reach. Jet
curfew is at 7.
Exactly. So let's have the spirit of understanding. Because nobody wants to do, most of the time, apart from the people who tend to do it. But generally, Ugandans are cool people.
Bishop, you're the overseer of the born-again faith in Kampala.
Yes.
And many times, I would say the Anglican Church has a proper criteria. They have the powers to punish, to discipline any of their fellow in terms of hierarchy of leadership, a reverend, a canon, maybe a bishop. The Catholic Church has the same.
Yes.
Our brothers, the Muslims, do. The Seventh Days also do. The born-again faith, many times we see a lot of issues, contradictions sometimes, some levels of lawlessness. To what level do you, members of the born-again faith, hold responsibility to each other, looking at the leadership? To what extent?
Good question. And I think that needs a whole program of 2 or 7 hours. Because you are relating the born-again faith to other religions.
Traditional religions.
What you call traditional. But
because I see you here,
most of these religions,
your appeals seem to be like you're appealing to a community that believes in you. You're appealing to fellow people, leaders, pastors, whatever their callings are different. Some are teachers, some are apostles, some are pastors, whatever they are. But to what extent do these appeals, to what extent do these hold water before them?
The leadership in the born-again faith is not the same as the leadership in the so-called traditional religions, because their hierarchy starts from abroad. I mean, they are foreign. But the born-again faith, I would say, it is more of indigenous. And most of these people you are talking about are indigenous churches, indigenous pastors. Not the whole born-again faith is in the same category you're talking about. The born-again faith brings in the indigenous churches, the churches that have started here, like, I would say like Muchivi starts up a church somewhere and registers with government. That church is indigenous. It is a church of Christ, but it is a church that does not have somebody abroad to give instructions. But we have also missionary churches. Missionary churches have structures because they came from, for example, let's say, the Redeemed Church, the Elm Church. These are missionary churches that have the Baptist Church. So not all the pastors are in, as you said, that we don't have, the structures. Our structures are not the same. The leadership of missionary churches is not the same as the leadership in the local church, the indigenous churches. In here, indigenous churches are have given us that problem you are talking about, simply because government registers them as individuals. I'll repeat it. Whoever wants to do things their own way, what they do is to distance themselves from the leadership of the born-again faith and do things independently, because they have an independent registration of which you cannot challenge. It has been given to them by government, and therefore, which is not the same case with the Anglican Church. with the Catholic Church. Unless you move out of the Catholic Church and say, I'm no longer part of the Catholic Church, I am of a certain faith somewhere. You create your own faith, which is different from the born-again faith. In born-again faith, somebody remains in there, but he says, temungambako, I have my own registration, therefore I'm my own boss. And it is our humble appeal to government that, and this policy was going to sort that one out, because we were asking for self-regulation, so that government leaves the regulation of our churches and our faith in our own hands, not for them to register people and then give them to us or give them to the leadership. Because first of all, I can tell you that government cannot regulate any church because they don't know the doctrine. They don't know what to say. You see all these false prophets around, roaming around. This is because as a result of government. Government doesn't know.
Yeah, they are under freedom of worship.
Under the freedom of worship.
Yes, freedom of worship.
And
they are free to worship as long as they are not contradicting the laws of the land. They are not sacrificing.
And the laws of the land do not match. Oh, they do not. They are lower than the laws of the church. I don't know whether it has understood well. The laws of the land, until you are caught and prosecuted, that's when you are taken to be guilty. But the laws of the church are well prescribed in the scriptures, and we can easily, even a kid can easily say, that one is wrong. You know what I mean? But for the laws of the land, you need the judge to say that you're wrong. So I would say that it is up to us to regulate ourselves and get to know who is wrong and who is right. We can easily tell, but the government cannot do that. And it has been our request that if government can give us the responsibility of regulating ourselves, I know, if I know that so and so is doing something wrong, I can approach them. If they refuse, then I can tell government that, hey, somebody is doing something wrong, is no longer under my care. But since he's not under my care from the beginning, when I see it, I just look at that side because I have nothing to do.
It makes brothers stumble and there's nothing much you can do.
Exactly.
Well, we are still with Bishop Herbert Buyondo, and we are looking at, that is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, the role of faith-based actors in COVID-19, but also looking at how best we are going to usher in the new year. Remember, this time around, it is still COVID like it was for 2020 as we're ushering in 2021, and government has come out clearly, with police being the lead agency here, to give specific guidelines, do's and don'ts. One of them is overnight or crossover prayers will not be allowed, but also fireworks. It had also become a custom of the church as well.
Yes.
You know, Bishop.
Don't be amazed. That's life motto.
At first, many faiths were against fireworks. Not so?
Yes.
The preaching was totally against fireworks.
Yeah.
You can't open the year with the fire. That is so worldly. But then, you all suddenly adopted this. At almost all places of worship shall have fireworks usher in. Where are we heading to? This confusion. One time against, the other time you're welcoming, and now even those that might have private churches, what I refer to, maybe you would say we aren't going to have prayers, but maybe we shall have fireworks. This has also been refused, because 2020 there are churches said, fine, we are not going to have prayers overnight, but within our church premises towards midnight we are going to have fireworks, and this will be telecast on TV, and we will be praying, and we shall usher in the church, usher in the new year. Few, very few indeed, maybe the choir, the pastor preaching, and a bit of fireworks. All this time is not accepted.
Yes. Okay. There are two things you brought in here. What brought these things to change into adopting fireworks as a custom? I was here when the iPads were coming in. Many people preached against iPad Bibles, but now Bibles have gone on phone. You don't need to buy a number of versions in your bookshelves to have all those versions. You have the versions on your phone. And that's how things have changed. Fireworks is, usually I would say, the Western world starts something and it comes slowly into Africa and into the rest of the world. Fireworks is a custom in the Western world. That's where it started from. And when people showed a lot of interest, and these church leaders realized that it is the fireworks that takes people to Sheraton Hotel, to whatever beach, to wherever they are going. Now, let us use fireworks as a hook to bring them to God. Instead of wasting your time in there, in that fireworks that has nothing to offer you apart from the sparking and the blast and all that, come and have the blast at the same time, having the blast of the word of God. So that is how fireworks came in, I would say. And now, making it to be, stopping it, and it's not going to be done, it's not allowed, it is because of security. Because as you know that right now, we have just experienced something in November. These blasts that have hit the country, from Digida to CPS, that's Uganda Road, they come to Parliamentary Avenue, different places. When you have fireworks, somebody can take advantage and blow something bigger than the fireworks. So I think, and I know, the reason why fireworks this time are not allowed is because of that. And we appreciate it. For me as a leader, I appreciate it 100%. Because I don't want to see people confused and experiencing a lot of trouble because of something small. Fireworks is not the heaven. That if we miss it, we are missing heaven. No. We can still do without fireworks.
Well, Bishop Uyondo, in the interest of time, let me have your final remarks regarding that is the ushering in of the new year, the spiritual side of it, and of course, these regulations that were given. Final remarks.
My final remarks, I want to say thank you so much, UBC TV, for having me and for having the church on air to give views regarding what is happening. And I'm here to say, 2021 has been a year of challenges. We started it with a lot of political temperature. The temperature was so high and it tested a lot of people, and a lot of church leaders and a lot of leaders went through a lot. And we thank God we went through that. COVID in mid of the year was a big problem. We thank God we went through that. We have now what is moving as the third wave. This is Omicron, Micron, or whatever, as it is. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge, though research has shown that it's a weak kind version of the virus, but it is moving and paralyzing society. Let us be cautious enough to take all the instructions that have been given to us. As leaders, I'm requesting, as we are leading people in the new year, please make sure that you don't go against what you have been given. Don't go beyond the time that has been given to you. For those of you that have been allowed to have more than 200 people, because some people requested for permission, please let us abide and do what is supposed to do. At least the distancing. The distance is very, very crucial. If you have a whole field at your church and you are hosting these people in that open place, let's have the distancing. Let's have the sanitization. Let us have the masks on. Don't preach. Don't speak anything. Looking at people not putting on masks. Let it be very, 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 very important. And if you are putting people together, please let us have vaccination as an addition, as an ingredient of these meetings. And I will request the Ministry of Health to avail health workers to do vaccinations where people will be, mainly at churches on 31st. It will be to our advantage, to the advantage of our communities, because people come to churches on 31st during that day. Not only church members, but people in the community. So let us take that advantage and do a mass vaccination campaign this season. I want to thank you so much for having me, and also for viewing wherever you are. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Herbert Buyondo. I know now you guys have a busy schedule because you're preparing for the huge numbers, of course, for the many services that are going to be held at different places of worship. Well said, please let's stick to these regulations. It is the 31st, but we want you to be present for many other years. Let's abide by the laws. Be responsible enough at such a time. Let's avoid over-excitement. God has given you the grace. Please, let's ensure we enjoy in a safe manner as we even enter this year. Have a lovely day, stay safe, and please go get that jab in case you haven't. If you have gotten your first jab, go for the second jab, because we need to fight severe illness, hospitalization, and death. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.